Hi everyone, welcome to my next video. I've been thinking about this one for quite a while because I've done already 3 or 4 videos regarding being an estranged parent of an adult child. And since then, I've been not only watching other videos, but reading from many of your wonderful comments that many estranged parents are understandably uh, not only shocked but devastated. But there's another aspect to it that I'd like to address in this video, and that is many of the estranged parents have no idea why. And for myself, I do know why. And it may or may not be applicable to you, but I'm going to create this video for food for thought and just present, as I always do, my own experience in hopes that maybe it might give you some possibilities in your own situation. Now, I'm trying to keep this under 20 minutes, of course, and I won't go into detail. Of course, I can't. The many years I raised my daughter and how I did the best I could. And no, I'm not faultless. I ended up leaving her father when she was only 14 rather. She did not want to come with me. She wanted to stay with her dad. And although that broke my heart, I respected her decision and I let her stay with her dad. Well, not 6 months later, she changed her mind and I was ecstatic. Yet her father refused to let her come live with me. And so what ensued was a very nasty court battle, which I won. And I won primary custody. We both still had joint custody, but I won primary custody, and my daughter came to live with me. Now, these are the teenage years, so I do remember mine quite well. And however, I was not good in school at all, yet my daughter excelled, and she had a lot of friends. She seemed to almost not even put much effort into studying, very much like her father. Straight A student. Now, when she was almost 18, I decided that I did not want to keep the home that we were living in. I had gotten married again. She very much liked my new husband. However, she was never witness to any of his abuse towards me. He very carefully kept that apart from her whenever she was home. So she only saw the good side. So when I decided to divorce him, only a year later, I'm sure she was very confused. Did not want to talk about it, did not want to hear any explanations, and not wanting to upset her further, I did not force her to hear my side of it, thinking maybe one day she'd want to hear more as she grew older. Now, I did leave and sell that house. She found her own apartment at age 18, and I lived about an hour away. Cheaper, more affordable for me. And she told me that she was fine with having her own apartment. Well, I can honestly say that that was the turning point where things started to go downhill very subtly. Lack of respect for me, which I attributed to her age. She started college, did very, very well in college. Again, straight A's, received her degree within 3 years, and had a wonderful, wonderful career. Beginning of a career started. And I was absolutely thrilled with her. And again, saw the similarities between her dad being a very successful college graduate and in his career. So she very much took after her dad, and I was very, very proud of her. Yet the distance between us began to grow, where I noticed her emotional distance from me in terms of not really wanting to have in-depth conversations or listen to any of my questions or explanations for um, why I was trying to either comfort her or address past issues. And it was then that she began to really distance herself from me in terms of, I don't want to talk about it now. I don't want to hear about it. Never mind. I'm busy. And so I just let it go. Well, eventually, she became engaged, and her future husband, very nice guy, very subservient to her, very passive. And I noticed that she became rather dominant over him. Yet, that's not my place to interfere or make any judgments or any comments. They did get married, and I was treated very badly at the wedding. And some of the guests didn't even know I was her mother, and were surprised when I did the maid of the mother of the bride walk in the reception. After the wedding, she completely ignored me and ignored me at the reception. And it was then that I realized that my daughter no longer valued me for any reason whatsoever. And not wanting to cause waves or seem confrontational, I put on my best face and tried not to cry through that wedding and through the reception. Now, I left out an important part. I had injured my back and had trouble with intense pain, and had told her this. And her response was, well, Ma, you know, you've got to walk down the aisle. Just suck it up and do it. No concern for me whatsoever. And that's what I did. I did it for my daughter. And I did my hairstyle the way she wanted it, even though I didn't like it. I did everything for her to please her, hoping that we would still find a way to become close again, if we were ever really close. And I started to question that, because I never was really close with her dad. His personality was very closed off emotionally, and I noticed she was that way too. Yet, I accepted her for the way she was, and I did the best I could. So now, fast forward, I am now a grandmother, and I go to see my new granddaughter rather, and I bought her a stuffed pony, and it was pretty large. It was actually a rocking horse where she could probably ride it when she was 2. But I just love the idea of giving her a horse because I loved horses. And when I brought it in the house, I will never forget my daughter's expression. She looked at it like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? And it was of disgust that I would even buy something like that. And just wanted to cry. But I smiled and I said, that's okay, honey. You know, if you don't have room in your house, you can just store it in your basement. And I believe that's what she did. She did bring it out for the baby shower. But again, it just seemed like whatever I did just wasn't good enough. And I'm not here to find fault with her. I'm here to explain how I believe I know why I'm now estranged. And it accumulated in the little things. For instance, once I was sitting in her living room, and she was going to have someone come to build a back deck. Their house was brand new. And as the man approached the front door, my daughter called to me for me to stay in the living room, and that to remain there while they had the conversation with this contractor. And I knew why she said that. She said that because for some reason, something about me was embarrassing. And she did not want me to be included in the conversation. So I sat in the living room trying not to cry. Now, I'll tell you what it is that I believe she ultimately decided to estrange me without any word of explanation. And that is because um, she did not deem me important enough to be in her life anymore. And rather than just flat out tell me, it came out in all these subtle, uh, and I don't even know if this is covert narcissism. I don't know what you would call it, but just very, very dismissive type behaviors, absolutely absent of any empathy for me. Um, and I just endured it because actually that's how I grew up, and that's how I endured my marriage to her father, by being constantly criticized, either openly or subtly. And I continued to do my best, but I started uh, finding myself breaking down in tears upon returning to my own home after a visit to her house. And I never wanted to tell her that I was upset because I was afraid of upsetting her. Yet I would always ask, honey, what's wrong? Why do you, why are you not willing to have an honest conversation or hear even what happened to me when I had my back surgery? And she never wanted to talk about anything. I was always dismissed as, never mind, I don't want to get into it, or she'd give a big sigh as if I annoyed her again, and she would say, Ma, I just don't want to deal with it. I don't have time for this. I've probably left out a lot of very dismissive behaviors from her, and it became even more apparent as she became more successful in her job, and ultimately her marriage failed. But by then we were estranged, and I surmise it failed because she probably treated him the same way. Yet I will never know for sure, so that's just a guess. Now, many estranged parents, as I've come to realize from reading online and watching videos, is that many estranged moms or dads don't know why they're estranged. But here's what I believe. I believe that my daughter has deemed me no longer valuable to be in her life, and rather than just take the responsibility to tell me that, she has done so in numerous subtle ways over the last few years that I um, had a relationship with her. And I was pushed away little by little with subtle digs and insults in a way that relieved her of any responsibility, but kind of gaslighted me into thinking that she didn't even owe me an explanation. And I'll tell you how I resolved this and how I reconciled it. And I believe I did another video about this also. And here's how I really take control of my life, because I realize that it is what it is. And my daughter is not a person to control, a person to dictate to, or a person who should be anything at all like me. She is her own self, she has her own life, and she is certainly entitled to her own decisions. However, this whole business of being estranged without an honest conversation is a bunch of bullshit. And I know now I will never receive an honest conversation with her. Why? Because she's too fearful to be honest with me. Because she doesn't have the courage to say, Ma, you embarrass me in front of people. I don't like how you do this or do that. I don't admire you. I don't like how you did this or did that, whatever it is. And rather than discuss it or try to understand, I'm just going to consider you not even worthwhile talking to anymore. And one of the last things that really cut deep to 14 minutes. One of the last things that really cut deep was when she had my first granddaughter. I believe I have two now. And at the time, I had owned horses. I had a few acres and kept them at home. And I had offered, really. I lived nearby, and I said, "Hey, while you're at work, you don't have to pay a babysitter. I'll come pick her up, and I'll take care of her. Um, no charge, no fee. And when she's old enough, I'd love to buy her a pony." Well, the look of horror on her face. I can't even explain the shock. She looked at me and she said, "Absolutely not. I'm not going to have you care for my daughter. I don't want you to buy her a pony. And she's going to go to daycare, just like I did." And I think I even asked her why. But the look of horror on her face was, "You are never going to care for my granddaughter, for your granddaughter. You are never going to have her at your house." And that was that. So I was utterly not only shocked with her dismissive um, admonition. Is that admonishing me? Because isn't that normal to want to have your grandkids over at your own house and even care for them free of charge so that she wouldn't have to pay for daycare? And what's so wrong with wanting to buy her a pony? And I even said if she didn't want the pony, that's okay. But she might like to have a pony. Who knows? Nope, she didn't want me to do that. So it was a combination of dismissing me throughout the years without any explanation or without any willingness to have an honest conversation that ultimately ended in my banishment from being in her life. So, what I'm trying to explain is that for any estranged parent who has not received any explanation and has been eliminated from your adult child's life, including your own grandchildren, I believe that the reason is there, and the reason is that they just don't want us anymore. Whether it's encouraged by the internet, by therapists, and perhaps we're being viewed as toxic, which is a word that therapists would use, because what is toxic anyway? Toxic means that we are a threat to them in some way, and that's interesting because maybe I was being a threat by being too authentic and too real and too genuine, and she didn't want that. She didn't want to explain anything or understand my feelings or respect me at the wedding or include me in my own grandchild's life. It's much easier to just throw me away like trash and call me toxic. Now, I'm almost out of time, but I want to wrap this up and end this with how I've reconciled all this. And it's very cathartic to be writing my next book, Caught in the Middle, because many of my relatives estranged themselves from each other. Reason being hate, resentment, ignorance, and lack of willingness to have an honest conversation. Now, I find the same attributes from my own daughter. Not all of them, because I don't think she hates me, but I think she resents my authenticity. I threaten her present belief in herself as being faultless, because none of us are faultless. And for her to admit that she's treated me badly is not in her agenda. Although I am more than willing to admit all of my many faults. So again, before I lose track of how I want to close this, I do know why I'm estranged. And believe it or not, it's okay with me. because other people can think whatever they want. I know who I am. I know how I raised her. I know what I did. And I know how I was treated. And it doesn't matter what other people think, including her. And it doesn't matter what she tells other people, because there is a higher being who sees all, who knows all. And I will not allow myself to be resentful, to be angry, to feel deflated, or to feel abused. What I have done is taken control of my life and accepted her decision to estrange me. I do not want to ever become involved in her life again, because I have learned very well in the past that this type of behavior is a personality that will never change, and I will never, ever subject myself to that again. Will my grandchildren ever look for me when they're older? I have reservations about that. I have reservations about my safety. Why? Because look at all the tragedies that occur within families due to misunderstandings and loss of life due to anger and rage. I think I'm better off being permanently estranged. And I like that idea because I have found a happiness and a peace on my own, and I do not ever want that threatened. So, in a way, it's sad, but in a way, it's not, because you can empower yourself if you're an estranged parent. Um, like a book, put a bookmarker in the chapter, turn the page. It is what it is. Let it go. Believe what you choose to believe and embrace your life. Find happiness, find peace, find humor, find good people to be around, because you certainly, certainly deserve it. So I hope this helped some of you estranged parents. I didn't think I'd be doing any more videos on this, but I really don't need any sympathy or anyone to feel sorry for me, because I was one heck of a good mother. And we all make mistakes. I divorced her father, and I divorced the second man. And sure, I did a few things that probably upset her, in terms of there was an award ceremony at high school that I was unable to attend that I'm sure hurt her feelings. And I did apologize for not being able to do that later. But it just seemed like everything, or any little thing I did wrong, was blown out of proportion. And gosh, don't we need to learn how to forgive each other? I mean, she even kept notes on things I'd said 10 years ago that she was still upset about. Who does that? I don't even remember what I said a week ago. And she, one of the last things she did was she emailed me all these little slips of paper with these things that I had said that weren't even bad, but she had misinterpreted them. And when I offered to explain why I had said what I had said, she declined that too. So this is my attempt for any of you to just know that you don't deserve any more trauma in your life. Please know that your adult children have made their choice, and it's for them to figure out, because I honestly don't see them as happy, stable, or well-grounded individuals that can honestly just throw us away like trash. That is not normal or healthy behavior. But if they choose to do it, they choose to do it. Please feel free to leave your comments and your questions. And if you'd like me to talk more about this, I'm happy. I've found a wonderful, peaceful existence in my senior years, and I plan to continue living this way. So thanks so much, everyone. I hope you're all having a really great day. Take care.